Yeah, sure, no problem. So we take our money to the bank and we lend it to them, right? What they do with it in the background is they don't just put it in the vault and protect it. They actually go and buy U.S. treasuries, and the reason that they do that is because cash is non-productive, a lot like gold. Gold is non-productive. There at that point there is no counterparty risk, so there is no yield. But when they lend the money to the government, you have counterparty risk. And the idea is with the government, you have the smallest amount of counterparty risk because they have the printer, right? They're not like a business who can fail and not pay you back. They literally will just print the money and give it to you. So that creates the inflation risk, because if they print the money and pay it back to you, you know you're going to get your money back, but you don't know what you're going to be able to buy. That ties into the purchasing power concept that I think is being revealed. But then what happens is when they raise the interest rates, the mark to market value, in other words, the value of the note or the bond that they bought in today's terms, if they needed to liquidate that, right? We just talked about how if Elon Musk tried to liquidate his wealth. Well, when you buy a note or a bond, you get principal plus interest upon maturation of the note or bond, which means you have to wait until the note matures. So if the banks were forced out the yield curve, they could not buy 1 year treasuries. They could not buy treasury bills. Because the treasury bill rate was 0 to 0.25. So they wouldn't make enough money to custody your money. So they went out the risk curve. They took higher risk in notes and bonds. But now when the Fed raised interest rates and interest rates went up, well, when the interest rate goes up, yes, the price of the note and the bond goes down. So you can imagine now this depositor who gave us $1 million, he doesn't want his money in our bank anymore. He wants to move his money from our bank to the money market fund. Well, the bank cannot just send the money market fund the liability, right? The liability they just typed in on their computer. Your money is really not there. It's just in their system.
Quick note there. So part of what you're getting at then is that this end consumer, let's say it's just a normal guy like me, takes my money to the bank, I deposit there. Well, in my perspective, my money's at the bank. But from the bank's perspective, they have gone and done this treasury strategy so that whenever I, as the actual lender there, the depositor, I want to move my money thinking that I've just got liquid cash at the bank. Well, now they're forced to liquidate in that sense.
Yeah. So the first main benefit is going back to these fractional reserves and just kind of completing the idea of, okay, the bank needed to sell that treasury at a loss. Well, where does the extra money come from to transfer to the money market fund with my liability? They had to print it. Exactly. Burr. I mean, hardcore burr. Even when they're doing quantitative tightening, even when they're supposed to be shrinking money supply, they're still burring. They're still printing. And what that does is it creates a big risk for people. And stable coins come in. This is where Byron ties into this. Stable coins are backed 1-to-1. So your bank deposits are backed, best case scenario, by 10 cents. Worst case scenario, closer to a penny. And it just depends on the bank and their risk profile and their interpretation of Basel banking. But it's going to switch between each bank. But it's between a penny and 10 cents. The stablecoin bill that the Financial Services Committee had eyes on requires that a stablecoin be backed by cash or cash equivalents. Well, one of the biggest benefits is going to be from the fact that when you go into a bank, it doesn't have to be fully backed, but when you go into a stablecoin, it does have to be fully backed. So what it does is it creates demand on treasuries, and that supports the government spending. Now that doesn't necessarily stop inflation. That can make inflation worse. But if people understood that Bitcoin was the base layer money, you don't care how much they print. Like all three of us, we don't, like you said at the beginning of the show, bring it on, baby. Print it as fast as you can. The more you print it, the more rich I get. The more you print it, the more stuff I can buy. Print all day because I don't care, because I'm protected. Well, everybody can get this protection, and they should get it from owning Bitcoin. But for some of the people that we talk to in the industry, there are some entities like old money. I'll just say old money, right? It's been around for multiple generations. It's been managed through multiple generations of people, and they like to lend their money. They don't like to invest. And that, there's a big difference between lending and investing. You invest to take risk, and you lend to mitigate risk. And I always say, Bitcoin should be 100% of your allocation. People are like, how much Bitcoin should I buy? They're like, let me stop you right there, because you're talking about investing and you're already talking about it wrong. The whole point of Bitcoin is that it's savings technology. and your savings should start at 100%. And then your wants and your needs and your investments will take down from that 100%. But see, in the traditional system, we don't have that. We don't have a way to increase our purchasing power through savings. So we're forced to spend or invest. And that's where a lot of this, the backwards incentive model comes in. And Bitcoin can flip that script, because that incentive model does not empower us. It forces us to take risk. A Bitcoin-backed bond actually incentivizes you to save and incentivizes you to make smart investment decisions. Just look at the stock market today. How many zombie companies are there? Why are there zombie companies? Why are there companies that are not making enough money in order to pay off their debt? Well, because you know why? The products and services that they offer to the market are horrible. And the free market pricing signal is trying to tell them that. It's your cost of production with all your employees, right? Your land, your labor, your material, your entire operation of providing this good or service to the world is actually costing you more than you can create in income. And that is how the free market signal says, stop what you're doing. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your energy. You're wasting these resources. All of your employees should be fired. Your business should go to nothing. And then all of those people should find new jobs in a productive company that offers a product to the marketplace that allows, the people of the marketplace will pay a price above the cost, because that's how they signal to you that we approve your product. We approve what's going on here. That free market price signal will actually have its voice again. And you won't see zombie companies. You won't see all of, one thing you mentioned earlier, which actually a very astute observation. We're buying stuff for the cheapest price, right? Who can make it the cheapest? It's not about quality. It's not about long lasting. It's about cheap and fast. Who can give it to me the cheapest, and who can ship it to me the fastest? And then what happens is your quality of life and standard of living, because the things that you interact with, quality and standards, are dropping, also drop. So all of that gets flipped upside down with Bitcoin, because it creates the proper incentives. So I think that it's not really necessarily monetary benefit, right? It's not like, oh, you're going to get extremely fabulously wealthy and rich. It's those second and third order effects I was talking about earlier that nobody can fully wrap their brain around or write it down and define it and say, this is exactly what's going to happen, and this is exactly how it's going to take place. We don't know all of those second and third order effects. We know the base layer effects. And one of those base layer effects is that the quality of life and standard of living will go up substantially, because it'll make more sense to save your money. And by the way, I'm not sure, I hear this all the time. Why won't people spend Bitcoin? If the price just keeps going up. But for me, I've been in Bitcoin over a decade. Well, every single day, I'm more incentivized to spend, because I keep having more and more purchasing power. I started out with not even being able to retire. Now I can retire my family for generations. It has become much easier for me to spend Bitcoin, not harder. So the more value that accrues into Bitcoin, the more spending we're going to see, because people want to live life and they want to, I'm going to use the wrong word here, but they want to live life and live abundantly, right? You want to enjoy the fruits of your labor, and you can still be responsible, and then you can still spend. It's not like you can't spend. It's not you were talking about a meme earlier. I love the meme where you see the crypto Bitcoin bros, and all they have is like a table, a computer, a coffee cup, and like a blow up mattress. And they're like, I'm ready for the bull market, baby. Yes. And I don't blame them, because they're trying to get ahead. They are doing the right thing. They're doing 100% in Bitcoin and let Bitcoin do the hard work. But after you make those right decisions, and after you make those sacrifices, after you've been through a couple halving cycles, you're going to realize, whoa, I can buy a house and it's not going to cost me that much Bitcoin. Like, relative to my Bitcoin stack, this is great. I can buy a car. I could do this. I could do that. And it becomes easier to spend over time. But then you start spending on better things, higher quality products. You start investing in better companies that have profits, right? And then that natural free market price signal and the natural free market business cycle too. Remember, when Bitcoin, FTX was printing paper Bitcoin, but when the hammer came down, there was nothing they could do. They failed. They're gone now. But how many companies should have failed during COVID? How many companies should have not gotten free money and been destroyed? And yes, there would have been a lot of jobs lost, but new companies would come up. that solve new problems and deliver new value. And that's the problem with this system. We're not smart enough. We're not inventive enough. We don't have enough. We're created in the image of God, who is the creator. We are creators. The system is suppressing us. The system is telling us we are not smart enough to do these things. We need to do it for you. You are not smart enough to understand how this works. We need to name the price of interest rates. You are not. And that is what Bitcoin does. It frees you from that system that tries to tell you how to do things. And it just lets the market, through its free market policies, dictate what is right and what is wrong.